Good morning. You know, as a person who works a lot in the corporate sector, it is very refreshing to be in this environment where you can openly praise the Lord and talk about the Lord. And in thinking about where you all are as students, they talked to me and said today's session was about servant leadership. Servant leadership. And when Eugenia called me, I was literally sitting at McDonald's in Bellevue with my 9-year-old while my 13-year-old was at soccer practice. And she said, help, I need you. I said, what's going on? She said, I can't make this talk. Can you be there? And today was going to be an admin day for me. That's why I'm all suited up in my jeans. So this worked out perfectly for me to be here. And as soon as she told me the topic was servant leadership, the Spirit of the Lord hit me with this title. And the title is, Servant Leader is like wet water. And I want you to imagine yourself going to your favorite restaurant. Tell me your name right here with the purple backpack. Ramina, what's your favorite restaurant? One of the restaurants you like. Say it again, Cheesecake Factory. Who likes Cheesecake Factory beside me? Yes, very nice place. Now, I want you to imagine sitting down, Ramina, you're sitting there, the waiter or waitress comes up, and they say, would you like something to drink? And you say, yes, I would like some wet water. Now, my question to you all, gang, is, if it is not wet, guess what? It is not water, right? Isn't that right? And what I want to propose to you today, that in my personal opinion, if you're not a servant leader, I don't even really think you're a leader. Here's something I've learned the hard way in my life. Many times we judge an organization's success primarily by their ability to earn revenue, primarily in their ability to make stockholders successful, primarily in their ability to increase earnings per share. But what I've learned and what all of you in this room have seen is that, in my opinion, there's really three ways organizations do those things. And sadly, all three of them work. Number one is they deceive. Bernie Madoff ran a multi-billion-dollar enterprise for more than 2 decades with clients like the New York Mets, Steven Spielberg, totally capable, high-capacity, intelligent people, and it was a 20-year scam. And he made millions upon millions. So you can actually make money by deceiving people. You really can. I hate it, but you can. Secondly, is you can make money by dominating people, by overlording, if you will, by manipulating. You can actually make a good buck doing that. For me, though, number 3 is the one I'm most happy with. It's the one I've tried to live my life around, and that's by dignifying people. So in my mind today, when we talk about this notion of servant leader, I want you to think about this notion of dignifying people. Let me kind of give you my roadmap so you know, why does this guy think this way? What's his deal? I'm originally from St. Louis. I am a Cardinal fan for life. I'm not a St. Louis Rams fan. That still does not resonate with me. I'm old. Some people won't know this. I still think Georgia Frontiere when I hear the Rams. The St. Louis Rams, man, I'm still Baltimore Colts, man. Anyway, I'm old school. But my first job out of school was with the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. Now, I worked at the Fed. PG, that means pre-Greenspan. Again, that'll mean something to some of you in here. But I worked at the Fed before Greenspan when Paul Volcker was the chairman of the Fed. Right around the time U.S. banks really started merging. There was a thing called the S&L crisis. I realize I'm starting to get old the more I'm talking. But I worked at the Fed back then. I went from the Fed to Sprint, global headquarters in Kansas City. And I got to Sprint a few years after the AT&T divestiture. Now, have they taught y'all this, that once upon a time, long ago, AT&T was this big, massive, nasty monopoly. And the government said, AT&T, that's not fair. So they broke AT&T up to several companies like Southwestern Bell, Pacific Bell, you name it. Now, when I was at Sprint, I used to say this to people back then in the 80s. I said, guarantee you, AT&T will come back together as one enterprise. I said, you just give it 20 or 30 years. And sure enough, it's done that. And then after I left Sprint, I came down to Nashville to work for Inroads. Inroads is a national nonprofit that helps African-American, Hispanic students matriculate through college and then into the corporate world. And the beauty of that is now some of my actual students are some of my clients now, which is a beautiful thing. And then I wound up going to Dollar General. I joined Dollar General in 94 when there were 1,200 stores. Get this visual. 1994, 1,200 stores. When I left in 2001, we had 5,200 stores. At one point, the company was opening a new store every single day. Now, since I left in 2001, now I think there are as many as 13,000 Dollar General stores. And then from Dollar General, I ultimately went to Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel asked me to come on board at the time. They were hit with some pretty significant racial discrimination lawsuits. I mean, they were massive. And I'll never forget in the interview, the president, he asked me a question. He said, Derek, how do you feel about the potential of being our first sort of face to the world as our first head of diversity, as an African-American, when most of the complaints are coming from African-American people about discrimination? He said, how do you feel about that? And my question was simple. I said, is the food free? I mean, come on, man. Let's just keep it real, baby. I didn't really ask that, but I did think it. But I went to Cracker Barrel for 3 reasons. One, when I worked for Dollar General, I ate at Cracker Barrel restaurants. Matter of fact, I went back and studied it. I had eaten at Cracker Barrel restaurants in 15 different states. I had never seen, felt, or discerned a spirit of discrimination because I would not work for a company of discriminators. Secondly, I felt that Cracker Barrel's issue was that their leadership and their model was too insular. It was too narrowly focused. And sure enough, once we sort of built out the way we work with people, once we demonstrated to people what we were really about, knock wood, Cracker Barrel hasn't been in the media since. And then several years ago, I joined my wife in our consulting practice, which is YMG Enterprises. And what we do is we help corporate, government, nonprofit, and education organizations get the culture they want. Because what we believe is that the culture of the organization is ultimately the key variable in making that organization great. So what does that mean? What I'm about to do is I'm going to try to take a 30-year career, work in about 300 different environments in some sort of meaningful way, and about 3,000 connections, be it a workshop or a presentation, a coaching session, and I'm going to try to whittle that down into this notion of being a servant leader. So here's my question of you all. What is leadership and why do we even need it? I'm asking you that question. What is leadership and why do we need it? What would you say right here in the yellow Lipscomb shirt? What is it and why do we need it? Tell me your name.
Caleb Love.
Caleb Love.
Leadership is being an example and having others follow your way and not following the crowd, I'd say.
All right, very good.
And it's necessary because if you got a way to lead something, a good idea, you want people to follow it.
All right.
You want people to follow it.
I like that, Caleb. All right, what would you say right here in the blue and white? With your arms crossed. Tell me your name first. Kiana.
I would just say leadership is taking control in different situations when no one else will. And I would say it's necessary because, like Caleb said, you can't always have followers. You need someone who will step up and come up with something that's not necessarily normal.
Awesome. All right, very good. And then right here, young man wearing the white hat. Tell me your name.
Jake Downs.
Jake, how about you? What is it and why is it important?
Leadership to me is someone that stands out and shows others the right way, or the right way in which to take a certain step. And I believe it's necessary because some businesses and some people won't go anywhere unless they do.
Awesome. I'm going to piggyback on what he said. In my personal opinion, gang, if everybody did everything what? The right way, when they needed to do it, how they needed to do it, guess what? We would not need leaders. The whole point is we as people, because we're imperfect, we need a little help. We need a little guidance, a little shepherding. And at a place like Lipscomb, I believe it's a perfect time to say, in my personal opinion, Jesus Christ is the model for being a servant leader. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit you with some concepts. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot of time. So I'm going to take 30 years of working with and working for some of the sharpest people in the world and kind of giving you what I've seen and my perspective on this notion of being a servant leader. And what I literally did was I put these concepts and I sort of tried to whittle them down. And I'm actually going to give these to you, in my opinion, in order of value. Another way to say that, tell me your first name here in the green. Ashley, if I was coaching you like I coach leaders, I would say, Ashley, this is the best I got to tell you on the keys to being a servant leader. And the first thing I would tell you is you've got to stay open to feedback. All throughout Scripture, I don't care if you're a Bible scholar or not, every king had a what? An advisor. Every king that took the advice thrived. Every king that chose not to failed and caused massive problems for entire organizations, entire communities, entire cities, entire countries. When you get so smart that you can't listen to anyone, when you get so awesome that you can't receive feedback, when you become so wonderful that only your ideas matter, that's when you start to lose as a servant leader. Servant leaders at the core understand that they must regularly receive input, insight, and direction from others. Jesus Christ said, I'm not here to do my deal. I'm here to do my Father's deal. I'm here on his business. Anything you hear me say, I got it from him. I'm not out here soloing. I'm here on a mission. And to me, the foremost thing you can be, if you want to be a servant leader, is a person who is willing to receive feedback. My time at Dollar General literally changed my life. The chairman and CEO, Cal Turner, and the CAO, Bob Carpenter, those two men literally changed my life. I was at that company 7 years, and I got 4 promotions in 7 years. My income went up 1,000% in 7 years. Literally, one day I'm sitting in my office, minding my own business, and the guy just sort of bursts in my office. Just know me, just walks in one day. He's like, man, I need to talk to you. What's up? He said, I just need to talk. We'll talk. He goes, dude, every time I look up, you're getting a promotion. I want to know why. I was like, you really want to know why? He said, yeah, I want to know why. I said, it's real easy. Seatbelt sessions. Huh? Seatbelt sessions. What's that? I said, once a quarter, every quarter without fail, I schedule a meeting with my mentor, Bob Carpenter, and I ask him one question. Bob, what do I need to fix? I sit in a chair, I strap myself in with an imaginary seatbelt, and then he begins to hit me with truth, conjecture, flat out lies. Stuff I agree with, stuff I don't agree with, stuff I can see, stuff that's in my blind spot. Hence, the seatbelt. At the end of 45 to 60 minutes, I remove the seatbelt and I take my battered and bruised body out of Bob's office. And I go out and I try to do 2 things. Number 1, to the best of my ability, I do everything Bob told me, and I do the stuff I disagree with first. And as soon as, everybody say as soon as I have success, I call Bob and I thank him. 4 promotions, 7 years. If you will stay open to feedback, it will maximize your capacity to serve. You cannot serve if you are closed. Took me a long time to learn what I'm getting ready to tell you in about 5 minutes. I believe that if you want to be an awesome servant leader, tell me your name. Yes. Sam, what field do you see yourself going into in the future, Sam?
I'm in the law enforcement program.
Law and Justice Program. So what are you sort of envisioning for yourself in the future?
I really want to go to criminal justice field and possibly do work.
So this question fits you. She said she wants to do investigative work. Sam, let me tell you something. It took me a long time to learn, and I want you to learn it before you graduate. Sam, if you will listen, observe, and discern 6 times as much as you talk, your talking will be 6 times more effective. What made Jesus so awesome is he lived in a place of discernment. He could walk up on total strangers and immediately know what their deal was. That's what empowered him to know what to deliver to people, to know how to deliver it, how hardcore he could be, or how soft he needed to be. And what I've learned about people who are great servant leaders is they're always studying their atmosphere. They're always studying the environment. They're watching how people carry themselves. They notice who comes into the meeting first or second. They notice who always has something to say and who shies away. They're always taking it in so they know exactly how to deliver when they're giving it out. Very rarely have I seen a loudmouth servant leader. Very rarely have I seen an arrogant servant leader. Very rarely have I seen a know-it-all servant leader. More often than not, servant leaders are the ones who are keenly aware of the people, the problems, and the processes. And they're able to make changes because they're always studying. They're always aware. The third thing I'm going to say, gang, is that you do your best to model what you teach and preach. I do a workshop called Developing Your Leadership Philosophy. And that workshop, I developed it when I was at Dollar General because what I saw happening to us, and this happens to a lot of organizations, we were growing so fast, we had a lot of spots to fill. And more often than not, we would say, well, Sally was a good store manager. Surely she'll be a good district manager. Not necessarily. And what I found was people were not developing a philosophy, or what I like to call a framework for how to lead. So when they stepped into a higher role, it blew them away. They didn't know what to do. It took them too long to really hit the ground running. What I'm saying to you, gang, is when you become a person who models it, who walks it, it is going to so significantly increase people's willingness to, as he said, follow you. Now, it won't be one for one. As a leader of people, you won't always do everything everybody in your group does, but the willingness to do it. The openness to clean the toilets at the restaurant. The willingness to take out the trash. The willingness to do the hard stuff, the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's servant leadership. Because at the end of the day, gang, people want to know that you don't think you're better than them. They may never say it. They may never send it to you on Instagram. But deep down, they want to feel that you care about them. And nothing says, I value you, like you being willing to do what your people have to do. I was working with a local company. I don't think he'd mind me saying this, BMI. BMI is $1 billion music royalty global enterprise. I'm sitting in a meeting with the CEO and 2 folks in the HR group. I'm meeting with the CEO of a $1 billion company, and we're meeting in the HR director's office. I had to stop the meeting. I said, whoa. I said, this is where we're meeting? We're meeting in here. Like, yeah, what? What's there? I said, y'all, I've been meeting with CEOs since I was 20 years old. I've never seen a CEO come to the HR director's office for a meeting. That's new to me. 30 minutes into the meeting, the CEO of BMI says, I want some coffee. Y'all want some coffee? I was like, yeah, I'll take some coffee. He gets up and goes to the coffee maker. Now, let me just tell you something, gang. That was new for me. And I said to him, I said, you are modeling a level of service that I hope your other leaders are willing to duplicate, gang. At the end of the day, I hear what you're saying, but what? I only care about what you're doing. You want to be a great servant leader? Model it. Servant leadership. We were talking about this briefly before the session. The older you all get, how old are y'all? How old are you, sir? 21. Man, let me just pause for a second, man. Whew, you probably got ab muscles too at 21. I used to have them, man. I really did. They were. I'm gonna get them back before I get 60. That's my goal. I miss my abs. I miss your abs. We were talking about the older you get, the more you realize that it's all about relationships. You could have graduated. You might graduate from Lipscomb with a 4.9 GPA. You might be able to speak 19 languages fluently. But if you don't have good relationships, the guy with the 2.6 who barely speaks English will be your boss. And you'll wonder why. Gang, one of the keys to being a servant leader is this little concept: appreciate the uniqueness of every person. One of the challenges of being a speaker is when you're the speaker, people want to talk to you and ask you stuff about yourself. I don't really like that. I like talking to people. I found out the gentleman running the camera today ran his own film production company for over 20 years, doing movies, commercials, television. Man, just sitting right back there. I learned that in the hallway. You would be amazed at what you can gain if you turn the spotlight off yourself and turn it on other people and find out what is that unique thing about Sam that makes her want to be an investigative type of person. If you will specialize in finding out what's special about everybody on your team, it'll blow your mind what you'll be able to achieve with people. Now, right along with that, gang, is once you find out what makes me special, servant leaders are willing to leverage what is special. Y'all, I get paid to coach people, not because I'm great, not because I'm awesome, but because the Lord has called me to bless other people by helping them get where they need to go. And one of the first things I tell all of my clients when they get a new boss, now if you're taking notes, please write this down because you're probably not going to hear this anywhere else. When you get a new boss, the first thing I tell people you need to determine, ascertain, figure out is how insecure is your boss. Nothing will derail you more than an insecure boss. Has to be their idea. They need all the credit. They don't want you around the vice presidents. Nothing will be more challenging to you in your career than a person who leads you, who guides you, who is insecure. You remember old Saul and David, don't you? Here was Saul. Saul had a problem. He had an enemy. He needed help. He needed dudes that could fight. He didn't need dudes who could theorize and strategize. He needed dudes who could pick up a sword and take some folk out. And here along comes this cat, David. David was a bad boy. They get into battle. Saul is good now. Saul, the king, can handle his own, but he ain't no David. And most of you know the story. At the end of the battle, they come back into town, the soldiers, the warriors. Everybody's saying, Saul killed 1,000. But your boy David, that boy is bad. David killed 10,000. Now, rather than Saul do the simple math and say, that's 11,000 for us, Saul looked at the 9,000 gap, and he let his ego and his insecurity overtake him and decided to take out the greatest warrior his country had ever seen. You better know, gang, you working for somebody who's insecure? Here's a little tip I'm going to give you. I have a very good friend. He lives in D.C., and he's a snob. Let me just cut to the chase. Dude is a snob. He's just a snob. I love him, though, but he is a snob. And he knows he's a snob. He's kind of proud of it, too. But I love him because I see through all that snobbiness. I know why he's a snob. But we had a little period where I was at Cracker Barrel. He was working with a big firm in D.C., and I had some big projects that went well. He had some big projects that didn't go well. And then he had one of those friend conversations after something. He said, man, hey, man, I need you to be honest with me. What am I doing wrong? You really want to know? Yeah, man, I really want to know. Come on now. You really want me to be honest with you? No, man, I'm ready to receive it. I said, here's the difference, buddy. You want to be right, and I want to be effective. Gang, what you're going to find is your smarts are going to get you through Lipscomb. Your wisdom is going to take you past Lipscomb. Being smart is great. You got to be smart. You wouldn't be in here if you weren't smart. But what I know about this notion of leveraging each person's talents is you want to be a person who's willing to look beyond your own faults, fears, and issues and find what is awesome in the people on your team and to pull it out just like you would playing chess. You know, the rook can't do what the pawn can do, can't do what the bishop. They're all different. But if you'll look at all those pieces, I'm a sports fan. They call players pieces now. They used to be people. Now they're pieces. If you look at all those pieces and see what each one of them has the capacity to do and get yourself out of the way, it'll be amazing what you can do. That's servant leadership, in my experience. Gang, here's something that came to me several years ago. My three best friends from college, Vince, Gino, and John. Vince from Kansas City, John's from Chicago, and Gino's from Chicago. We all met at Rockhurst Jesuit College in Kansas City back in the 80s. These are my three brothers. Back when we were all young and single, we used to take a trip every year somewhere, Cancun, Dallas, wherever. Just 3-4 brothers, man, hanging out. And one year we went to visit John in Portland. I did this like yesterday. And we're sitting around, we had just eaten dinner, and it was one of those sort of quiet moments where you're just buddies, you're just boys, you're just hanging. And this, I don't know where it came from, it just came over me. I said, hey, let me tell you something. Hey, look, I do not want you all to get up and say all this good stuff about me at my doggone funeral. I want you to tell me now. And that turned into a 2-hour snot fest. Man, I love you, man. You good with kids, man. That's one of my favorite things about you, man. Well, you take care of your mama, man. That's you good at that, bro. Gang, it blows my mind. We wait till people are in a box, covered with flowers, to say a bunch of good stuff about them. That's insanity. So my philosophy is you give people their flowers before they die. If you got somebody on your team who's doing good, you tell them, and you tell them in explicit terms. Hey, Jake, let me tell you something, buddy. Can I talk to you for a second? Hey, the way you just handled that customer was phenomenal. Not only did you come away from what you were doing, but you listened to her, you let her finish her thought, you paraphrased what she said, you made sure she understood exactly what it was you were saying. Man, that is awesome customer service. Don't just say, good job, Jake. Break it down. Let Jake know you're paying attention. Let Jake know you're trying to encourage him doing those same very specific behaviors over and over and over again. That's servant leadership. But by the same token, gang, servant leadership means I'm going to be honest with Jake when he's screwed up. I'm not going to go in the break room, oh, God, Jake is such a dummy. Have you ever worked with somebody so stupid? That guy never gets it right. But you won't talk to Jake? That ain't leadership. That's cowardice. That's what cowards do. But Derek, if I'm honest with him, he won't like me. If I tell him the truth, he'll want to quit. If I say what I really believe, hey, the Lord says that if I love you, I correct you. If you're not being corrected by the Lord, look out. It's the scariest place in the world to be. You do something wrong, nothing happens. You say, that was fun. I'm going to do it again. You do something wrong and nothing happens. Wow, man, this is pretty exciting. You keep doing it wrong, and if the Lord is not correcting you, look out, gang. One of the scariest parts of the word is that group that was given over to a reprobate mind. That's a scary place. You do not want to be in that place. Servant leadership means I love you enough to be honest with you, not to hurt your feelings, not to dog you out, not to demean you, but to be honest about what you need to do to be great, to get better. Here's what I know about servant leaders, right? They do whatever it takes to protect the culture. Servant leaders know that I have got to make sure that the culture that exists here is solid. It's strong. It's rich. It is empowering. So I'm the one who makes sure that people treat each other right. I don't laugh at the silly jokes. I'll never forget this. I'm not going to name the company, but I was on the company jet with the top 4 executives, riding from one event to the other. And it was the day after Beyonce and Prince had performed on the Super Bowl stage. And the newspaper had this picture of Beyonce, and it was somebody down on the floor shooting up. So it was sort of a toe-to-head shot of Beyonce. And Beyonce was looking good in the picture now. Let's just go ahead and keep it real. And one of the executives turned to me, opened it up, and said, "Wouldn't you like to have one of those?" And I gave him a look that basically said, "You need to jump off this plane, man." Servant leaders realize if I don't protect the culture, we have no culture. If I don't stand up for what's right around here, ain't gonna be no right. That's what I like about Jesus. I hate these people that paint Jesus as some mealy-mouthed wimp. Are you kidding me? Jesus was hardcore. He walked up in that temple and said, hey, what you fellas doing here? Whoa, no, we're not going to be gambling. What? You're gambling in my fire? Servant leaders protect the culture. We had a bully in my neighborhood. He wasn't really an official bully. He was kind of a wannabe bully. And I think he just had low self-esteem because he was like 18, like in the 8th grade. You know, I'm one of these type guys. I may be dumb, but I'll beat you up. That's right. And I'll never forget myself, Todd Vincent, and Daryl Porter. I'll never forget. We were walking up Bell Avenue. I remember this like yesterday. It's like 1974. And this guy appears out of nowhere. How many of y'all know bullies are like ghosts? Did y'all know that? They just like appear. Like, what is that about bullies? Like, where'd you come from, man? What? And for some reason, he got into Daryl Porter. Man, you on my street, man. Why are you on my street? And he was poking him. Sometimes a poke is worse than a punch. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? A poke is like I will kill you. What are you poking me for? He was poking, you on my street. Get off my street. And then he jabbed, left jab, I'll never forget. Bam, hit him right in his forehead and knocked him out. And we kind of picked him up and we scampered off. Don't y'all come back, this is my blood. This is my blood. 2 weeks later, me, Todd Vincent, and Daryl Porter walking down Bell. See, we always walk down Bell because Todd would come to my house and we'd go to Daryl's house and we'd walk down Bell and we'd go shoot ball at Chambers Park. That's what we did. We forgot about the bully. Sure enough, out of nowhere, there he showed up just like a zombie. Like, what are you, dude? He popped up, didn't I tell you? And y'all, I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like this in your life. It happens in fast motion, but you see it in slow motion. And as he was saying, I told, Daryl went in his sock. It was like a Bruce Lee kung fu move. He went in his sock and pulled out a pipe, boom, and knocked him flat out. People from all around the neighborhood, yay, the witch is dead, the wicked witch is dead. That guy never bullied anybody again. Gang, servant leaders protect the culture. They don't allow bullies to run over people. Gang, last couple thoughts. Servant leaders maintain balanced relationships. There's a misnomer, in my opinion. We use a thing called work-life balance. Can I say this to you as your friend? I want you as students to think of me as your Uncle Derek. Think of me as Uncle D. Gang, work-life balance is impossible. It is mathematically impossible. You work from like 7 in the morning to 5 o'clock every day. You're not going to have work-life balance. What you want is balance in your relationships. Fight to always maintain balance. Your relationship with the Lord, your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your friends. Servant leaders, if you're taking notes, please write this down. Make the shared vision the central focus. Not their vision. That's not a servant leader. That's somebody maybe with leadership skills, leadership ability, but servant leaders create what we call a shared vision. And that's the focus. Not me, not my awesomeness, not the fact that I have 7 degrees from 7 universities. No. The shared vision is the focus. Servant leaders, y'all, they are always honest about obstacles. They don't sugarcoat it. They make it real plain. But because they've done all the other things we've been talking about, guess what? People are like, let's do this. When people feel appreciated, leveraged in a positive way, when people feel like you will stick up for them, when people feel like you'll be honest when you need to, in the appropriate way, people are like, bring it on. We want the challenge. And lastly, y'all, servant leaders make sure that there is a commitment throughout the organization. I've worked with leaders as long as the C-suite people are making money and everybody has a house and a half and a bunch of stock options, it's all good. That ain't servant leadership in my opinion. That's why I love Cal Turner. I could talk about Cal Turner for hours. He made sure that everybody in the enterprise got a piece of the pie. That's servant leadership. I'm going to put my email address up here. If I could help any of you young people, I will do it. I wish you all great success, and God bless you.
I know you're in a hard time, so I got to get you out of here. Thank you so much for attending and sharing this time with us. If you didn't get a T-shirt, they're out there. And also, if you haven't signed our integrity statement, thank you, and God bless you.